Hey guys, welcome back to another video. For this video, I'm going to be starting a series on the perks of Chronos. So if you're interested in one perk specifically, be on the lookout for the videos that will have your perk. I'm going over the first 3 perks on offense, and then I'll do the first 3 perks of defense, utility, and then do that 2 more times around, and then I'll go off from there. Now, the first perk I'm using is the bow start perk, which isn't the greatest. If you can, I would use a different perk, but it is the first perk you get, so you might be forced to use it. It's best utilized when going after the time warp that spawns in naturally at the start of every game. So if you're good at PvP, I would go there immediately with the bow start perk, but if you're not, landing on someone who is unsuspecting and maybe opening their first chest would be a great target when you're landing at the start of the game. But other than those 2 very specific situations, the bow start perk is completely useless, especially when you get into late game. When everyone has a weapon and has armor, your bow start perk is not going to help you at all. Most of the time you have a better bow, and if you don't have a better bow, then you're probably not playing the game properly. You're probably one of the newbies at the game that are just wandering around the map aimlessly. Unless you can't find a bow for the entire game, which is very rare, and I don't think that has ever happened to me in my hundreds of games of Chronos, then the bow start perk will not help you at all. And even if it does help you, a bow that is tier 1 deals basically no damage to a tier 5 target. It might be like 1 or 2 actually, but it's so little that it doesn't really affect how many hits it takes to kill. Even me, who is an experienced player, was struggling this game against this guy because A, this guy was pretty good, and B, I didn't have a perk to help me against him. I'm not putting this guy down, but say I were using the prepare shot perk or the daredevil perk or basically any other perk that helps me in PvP, I would have won this much more easily. I did eventually win, but it was a really close game, and I had to pull out basically every trick in the book I had, and I had to play every single advantage I had. This guy was really aggressive and wanted me dead when he could have just easily hid the entire game and used his time advantage against me. It was an open field, so there weren't many places to hide, but still, he could have done something. It was a very close game. This guy is really good compared to most players, and if I weren't in this game, he would be steamrolling everyone. Now, this is just a testament to how bad the bow start perk is. It's the first perk you get, and I wouldn't expect it to be good, but it's just so bad that basically every other perk is better than it. Now, for the next perk I'm using, it's Prepare Shot, which is one of my favorite perks. I don't use it as my primary perk because it's not quite good enough, but it's still really fun to use. I love seeing half of somebody's HP go away with 1 bow shot. It's really funny when somebody's like, oh, I got this fight, and then half their HP is gone at the start of it, and it's really funny to watch them like scramble around and try and flee. It's one of my favorite perks for that reason, and it's also really good. I see a lot of people using it, and the way I can tell they're using it is because of the black particle effects that it leaves behind, and I love this little feature. I don't know if it was recent or not, but it's one of the things that make Chronos so in-depth. Like, I can tell what perk someone's using just by like the particle effects that they have. I wish other perks had this, but it's not my biggest problem within the game. Now, enough with me praising the game developers. Some of my tips with this is use weaker targets as a form of battery for your bow charge and save it for your stronger targets. Or say you're in a fight and somebody's really good, hit them a couple of times with your sword, turn around and shoot them with your bow, and it'll get rid of a lot more HP than you think it would, because if they have armor, they're just a lot of sword hits, which is free charge basically, and if you can run away, turn around and shoot them, they'll probably die if you already soften them up a bit, because you deal 6 damage with a fully charged bow with 6 hits, which is your cap right now. If I were to make any changes to this, I would probably add like half a heart or a heart of damage to it, or make it permanent and last even after you die, because the state it is right now, I'd say it's kind of balanced. Either you need to bring other perks down or bring this perk up. I don't know where the developers want this game to go, but I would like to see some sort of buff. Maybe just when you die you keep your charge, because it's a pain when you have a lot of charge left and still lose it when you die. Where it is right now is probably really balanced. I think other perks probably need to go down instead of this one going up, but I would advise playing a game or two with this because it's just pure fun. It's amazing because you need to think when you act, or it's just free damage when you least expect it. You need to adopt a certain playstyle, and my playstyle actually goes pretty well with this, so it's not too strange or foreign to me. I would advise getting used to this, like fighting it, because I have seen a lot of people recently use it. It's pretty good, it's pretty cheap, and it's one of the best, especially for how low of a cost it is. For anyone starting out, this is really cheap to get, and it would probably be the first perk I would recommend now. I used to recommend backpack, but now that they added the backpack item, the backpack perk is kind of a bit useless in a sort. Not completely useless, but it's nowhere near as good as I thought it was at one point. At the end here, I was messing around a bit. I was trying to get my final shot with the bow, but I did die, but I still had time, and this guy didn't have any time. The corruption crept inward, and he eventually died just from the storm. Anyway, could have pulled out my sword and hit him twice and easily won the game, but I just tried to be flashy, and that costed me a bit of time and a bit of glory from this very dull win. Now, moving on to the next perk, which is Sonic Snowballs. I believe this perk is best utilized on PC or people with high sensitivity, because I'm on console with the max sensitivity I can get. It still feels really slow when I'm using this, especially because you need to be able to turn around quick to get that boost when you're trying to move in a certain direction, or you need to be able to look at the ground and then look up pretty quick. It's just not practical for console players, or even phone players or tablet players. But let's be honest, if you're a mobile player, you're at a huge disadvantage anyway, so not really that big of a difference if you're honest. Now, speaking with some tips and tricks, I would always advise using your snowballs in PvP, especially with your bow. If you can jump up with the snowball and then pull out your bow and shoot someone while you're on your way down, it's just free damage while they can't hit you with their sword, so it's one of the best strategies, especially with this. And it also allows you to get up to higher places without needing blocks, and it's really useful when you're trying to get to somewhere high with a chest or something, so you can use it in basically every situation. It isn't the best perk in my opinion. There's no actual advantage to PvP unless you are talking about that one tip I gave you. Other than that, there's nothing to help you. It helps with you escaping sometimes, but it's really hard to control, and the blast radius is a lot smaller than I think it should be. With enough practice and with enough sensitivity changing, I think this could be a really useful perk, especially for really high skilled players. It's not too easy to learn for low skill players, but it is a really fun thing to mess around with, but you need a lot of snowballs to make it work. A lot of other perks in this game are just used for PvP. It's nice to have one perk that is just for messing around and having fun and jumping all over the map. It's a really good addition in my opinion. It's not bad, but it's fun to use, and it's just one of the more creative perks that Chronos has to offer, and I think they need to add more like this. The new perks they added were pretty basic and not really that complex. I wish they added some more weird and wacky ones, like the sonic snowballs, because right now snowballs and blocks are pretty useless and I don't normally carry them. A few changes I would make to make this perk more useful is double the amount of snowballs you can carry in one slot and make the blast radius a bit stronger and a bit bigger. Other than that, there aren't really that many things I think they need to change, but at this point in time, the perk isn't that good. You need to devote 2, maybe even 3 slots of snowballs to get the most use out of it, and you don't normally find that many. And even when you do, you have so much other stuff to carry around that you can't drop anything, or if you do drop something, you're going to be at a disadvantage when you get into a fight. It's pretty bad. It's not helping its case that I had a really poor game right here, but part of that was me being a bit cocky. I thought that I would be really good with this and I would have a great time. I had one good play with it the entire game, maybe 2, but it's not really that useful. Something needs to change with this perk. It is so bad that I've only ever used it twice, and the first time I used it was really long ago, and that was before people knew how to deal with this. And now that people have gotten used to playing it, or something else, like people are getting better at chasing people or something, I don't know what has changed, but the first time I used it, I did pretty well, and now I'm doing absolutely horrible with it. When I tried to run away, I couldn't get up high enough. I think that they might have nerfed it somewhere along the way, but it was so long ago that I used it that I can't really tell anymore. Or it could have just been me being bad and this being a horrible game for me. And a lot of variables could have changed, and I don't know which ones have actually changed. It's a fun perk, but it's not a good perk. If I were to change anything, like I said, it would be make it so that you can carry extra snowballs and make it a lot stronger than it is right now. I want to talk about the gameplay you see behind you. I was having a horrible game this round, and this guy had so much time on me. I probably should have pushed him right here, but I ended up just staying on the roof. And this guy is so smart. He used his time perfectly. He used his advantage as time leader to the best of his ability, and when he was forced to go out, he did a lot of damage to me, and he still had a lot of time left at the end. There wasn't really much I could have done to him. That guy knew what he was doing and had a really good game plan. Most people think it's kind of jerky or really boring or dumb to just wait out somebody else, but it's a really good strategy that I don't see enough people using. I respect this guy for how good he is at playing Chronos. He might not be the best PvPer, but he is really smart. Kind of reminds me of myself in a way, because that's normally how I operate when playing Chronos. I try to outsmart my opponents. I obviously lost this game, nothing I could do against a guy with 9 minutes, but even though I might have lost this game, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video anyway, and maybe these tips and tricks helped you somehow. And if this wasn't the perk you wanted to see, check in for the next video. Or if there's something you just can't wait to see, leave it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye!